Title: We were married for over 12 years, found out she was having an affair for at least 2. Please support the channel by hitting the thumbs up, thank you. After 12 years, I'm 99.99% confident my wife has been having an affair for the past 2 years. I'm planning on meeting with her lover before I file for divorce. I haven't said anything to my wife yet, but I'm going to blackmail him with this to force answers out of him. Wife knows I'm planning on meeting with him, but under the pretense that I just want to clear the air, hit the reset button, and move forward. She thinks that means apologizing to him and reestablishing our friendship. She's very wrong about it. Nice thing is that because of this she's happy to hear I'm meeting him, so I don't have to worry about doing this in secrecy. Well, I thought I was meeting with the lawyer today, but I guess I was just getting the preliminary paperwork filled out with the paralegal, and that I'm looking at Tuesday before I can have my consultation. Another issue is that they want a $10,000 refundable retainer fee. I have the money but only in joint accounts, so I have to figure that hurdle out. I'll update everyone as this progresses. This is by far the most difficult post I've ever had to write, and I can't even express the feelings going through me right now. I have been with my wife for 12 years now, married for 7. The first 10 years were fantastic. We've built an amazing relationship, traveled the world, and created what I thought was an unbreakable bond of love, but I'm afraid I was wrong, and it's absolutely killing me. 8 years ago she started working with this guy, we'll call him A. Never any issues or suspicious behavior. In fact, we became great friends with A and his longtime girlfriend J. Over the years we'd hang out quite a bit, go over for BBQs and holidays, and everything was good. About 2 years ago, though, my wife's relationship with A changed dramatically and I started being suspicious. Up until a few months ago, I was consistently going to softball every week with my wife to watch A and his team play. One week, I was tired and didn't want to attend. I offered to be a gentleman and dropped my wife off. They all went out afterwards, and at 1:30 a.m., I had still not heard from her. I called at 1:45 a.m. and she said they were at a local bar, so I headed that way. I sat out front at 2 a.m. and the bar was closed, but my wife was nowhere to be found and didn't answer my calls. 10 minutes later at 2:10 a.m. she texted me. She was in A's car talking to him. I took her home at 2:15 when she finally got out. I didn't think anything of this occurrence because she had never given me reason to mistrust her. She said he was going through some difficult things and she was being a listening ear for him. The following week she asked me not to come to softball anymore. I was baffled because in our 10+ years together, she had never asked me not to be somewhere. We've always been close and she enjoyed my company. Now she doesn't want me there anymore? Her explanation was, I just want some me time with my coworkers. This would mark the first of 12 times she would ask me not to come somewhere over the next 14 months, each time progressively getting more aggressive. A is the only common denominator present in those 12 occurrences. My wife starts a rigorous weight loss regimen. Proceeds to lose 50 pounds through the year. Remainder of softball season she requests I don't join her anymore. My wife and A go out after softball and stay out until after midnight at the least each time. Unknown which weekend it occurred, but Jay leaves town for a weekend to go see family. My wife spends the entire Saturday I'm at work, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. at A's house alone with him watching movies. She claims he needed her help taking care of his dog. Jay leaves town another weekend this month. Again, my wife spends every minute I'm at work with him. Again, saying he needed her help with the dog. That Saturday evening we had plans to take our dog to the park. Wife changed her mind and decided to go with A to take his dog to the park instead. My wife and A are now in a constant state of hanging out together multiple times a week alone, and I'm often left by myself at home while they're out together. Weekends are midnight 2 nights for them. Wife switches jobs. A follows her to the new job and put in for the same lunch hour. They eat lunch together and walk the path at work together every day. They work for a big corporate place that has a 2-mile nature walking path outside of the building. I'm going an hour out of town to attend a going away party for a friend. Wife says she's staying in town to hang out with A. I drop her off in the late afternoon at a bar before I head out. I'm arranged to be her DD when I get back into town. I'm getting back into town. I called my wife, who was clearly intoxicated, to let her know. She gets angry, defensive, and starts swearing at me, telling me she's not ready to be picked up yet, and hangs up on me. Bars are already kicking people out, so why wouldn't she be ready? I proceed to head home. I still haven't heard from her. The bars are closed, so where could she be? I decide to head into town and look for her. We have our phones tracked, so I pull up the app and she's disabled her location. -2:10 I try to call. No answer. -2:15 I try to call again. No answer. -2:20 I call again. She answers and says they're at a local park and to come get them. -2:25 I get to the park and look all over but can't find them. I call her again and they come up from down by the creek in the pitch black. Her earring fell off down there and they're looking for it. What are they doing down by the creek in the pitch black at 2:30 in the morning, and how did her earring just fall off? -2:45 we just dropped A off. On our way home, wife tells me she doesn't want A to marry J anymore. This is after a couple years of talking to J about marrying A and how excited she was for them to eventually get engaged. Months after, my wife approached me about going skiing with A. This is a hobby she's never expressed interest in before. They take a few trips through the season from open to close, often going out afterwards. My wife and A start their snap streak on Snapchat. They begin to snap each other obsessively every day from this point on. This becomes the only form of communications they've used to this day. January 2022, wife has a medical issue that is going to require an MRI, and she has to have a driver due to being on narcotics for her appointment. I have Thursdays off, but she scheduled it for Wednesday and tells me he's going to be her driver. I object to this and tell her I'll switch my days off that week and be her ride. This is a sensitive medical issue, and being her husband, I should be there for her. She gets angry, tells me she doesn't want me to be her driver and that A is going to do it. Not only does he take her to her appointment at 8 a.m., but proceeds to stay at our house alone all day and leaves right before I get off work. Why didn't she schedule for my day off instead of his? March-June 2022 softball season resumes, and like the previous year, I'm not invited. Midnight to 2 a.m. nights are normal again. On weeks that I'm working until 7, she and A will come back to our house and hang out before softball starts. On weeks I'm off at 5, they go to a bar or straight to the fields after work. I got off early on a late week and surprised them at the house. They were eating dinner together. June 24th, fallout incident. I'm out at a bar with a couple friends. My wife is having dinner at a restaurant across the street with A and didn't want me to join. She texts me and asks if she and A can come up and join for a quick beer before they move on to the next bar. They arrive, and as they're getting ready to leave, I insist on joining them. She doesn't want me to. We butt heads a little but gives in and says yes. We'll eat the next bar. We're talking about football versus soccer, and my wife asks A if he's ever been to an NFL game. He says no, and she responds with, "I'm going to take you to a game one day, love." I immediately catch that and asked if she just called him love. She appears shocked at first and responds with, "Yes, I call everyone love." Spoiler alert, she doesn't. After that happened, they stopped talking to me, so I walked about 4 feet to the bar to talk with the bartender who we're friends with. I see A and wife whispering to each other. A gets up to go to the restroom, and my wife says she's going to use the restroom as well. Suspicious of this, I stand in eye view of the restrooms upstairs. I witness A come out of the men's room, and instead of coming back, he stands behind a wall next to the restrooms and waits for my wife. She comes out and they walk together behind a wall out of sight from the bar. After about 2 minutes of waiting for them, I'm overloaded with anxiety, so I start to march up there and confront them when he comes around the corner, storms down the ramp looking angry, and glares at me while he walks past. My wife is around the corner crying. I asked her what was wrong, and she says nothing. A is just an asshole. At this point I've had enough, I've seen enough, and I'm confident there's a relationship going on, so I call her out on it and demand answers. We sit in her car for 4 hours discussing everything. She gives me mixed responses, changes her answers, and stands firm that there was never anything happening. July to December 2022, she abruptly stops hanging out with A except for lunches at work following the fallout. We are going on my birthday trip to Denver in July. Less than 30 minutes after checking into the hotel, she confronts me about how hurt she is that I don't believe her about her relationship with A, and guilt trips me over her depression she's feeling about it. I'm given an ultimatum to either believe her or pack back up and go home. Despite not hanging out, she still snaps him, and to this day they haven't missed a date since November 2021. November, she approaches me about how she misses A and wants to hang out with him again. I oblige, knowing I'm likely filing for divorce anyways. Things start to pick up exactly as they were beforehand. Slowly, with more obsessive Snapchatting, then back to hanging out off and on. My wife, A, myself, and a friend go out after a going-away party. At 11:30 p.m., wife starts getting affectionate with me. A turns red with anger, tapping the table and watching a sports game on the TV. When my wife asks him what's wrong, he responds in an agitated "Nothing, I'm fine." He then proceeds to stand up and leave. We explain we just cashed out and that we'll walk together back to the cars, in which responds, again aggressively, "No thank you, I don't want to intrude on you guys," while looking right at my wife and I. January 2023, we take a vacation to Australia and New Zealand. During this trip, wife Snapchats A every single day from the moment he wakes up back home until midnight 1 am home time. It's so obsessive she's doing it while we're out on excursions and supposed to be experiencing this country together. During this trip, I notice she's hiding his snaps from me. When I'm sitting next to her with her phone in a night shot, I'll watch her open up everyone's snaps except for A's. She'll leave that unopened, and within a few minutes each time she'll either ask me to go get a drink or something to leave the table, or she'll go use the restroom. As soon as I leave the table, she picks up her phone and opens his snaps. Suspicious that she was hiding these from me, I tested my theory during one of our sea days. I noticed she didn't open up his snap, and sure enough, a couple minutes later she asks me to go get her a drink. I oblige as the bar is only a few feet away. As soon as I get over to the bar, I notice her pick up her phone, so I bolt right back to the table, and she has Snapchat opened and her finger is on its way to clicking on A's snap. She notices me back last second, stops, closes the app, and waits for me to leave again. I take a quick drink and go back to the bar. This time, she looks over her shoulder twice to make sure I'm not coming back before she opens it up again. The following day, we're on a bus, and I witness her get a paragraph-long message from A. Before she responded to him, she exited the conversation, then went back into it to respond. I confronted her about this situation, in which she calmly responded that she didn't realize she was hiding them from me and reassured there was nothing going on. These were voluntary actions she had to take. You can't accidentally do that. We're on the other side of the planet, and I can't just jump off a ship, so I play dumb and move on from it. 2 days later, we're at a trivia night on the ship. This is the night she has been the most intoxicated, and she wasn't being as careful hiding his snaps. I look over and read the following exchange. Wife, I don't want to hear another sob story from you. A sends a snap back that's top to bottom covered in text, in which she immediately closes it without reading. Wife, I told you already, I've made my decision. We're boarding the plane in Auckland to head home. As we're buckling in for takeoff, I notice he sends her a couple paragraphs worth of text on Snapchat. It's 2 a.m. at home at this time, so I confront her and ask her why he's texting her so late. She gets upset and says he's just saying good night and wishing us a safe flight. We proceed to get into an argument. I bring up the aforementioned conversation I oversaw, in which she appeared shocked that I saw that and couldn't provide an explanation. She says she doesn't remember what that was about. Takes a PTO day at work to go skiing with my wife. The second day we're back, despite them both having Saturday and Sunday off. In our first 2 days back, they spent a day and a half together. A couple things of note here as well. In March of 2021, she changed her profile picture on FB from one that had both of us to one of just her. She's changed it 7 times since then and has never had one with me in it, despite every profile picture before 2021 having us both. Maybe a coincidence, or probably not. Her responses to the park incident: 1. Nothing happened. 2. I don't think anything happened. 3. We talked the next day because we were afraid something happened, but neither of us remember. 4. I'm 90% sure nothing happened. Her answers to the fallout incident. 1. I can't tell you, it's a secret about someone we both know. 2. Fine, he was talking shit about the bartender and we got into a fight over it. 3. Okay, he wasn't talking about the bartender, but it's still about someone we know and I can't tell you. So here we are. It is so goddamn obvious every time I read through this log that they're having a relationship. Even if they didn't do anything physically, she's still clearly having an emotional affair. I know a lot of people are going to say I should have ended this last year, and you're absolutely right, but I have to be honest, it's just not that easy. I've been with this woman for 12 years now, that's over a third of my entire life. She's my first love and the person I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with, so this has been, and will be the most difficult and challenging thing I'll ever go through. But I've decided to not be treated like a fool. A couple of friends who are frequent customers at the bar we usually go to also informed me about their suspicion towards my wife and her friend. Without anyone having to convince me, I know something's up with them. I don't tell her that I have filed for a divorce, well, I guess because I still had a bit of hope that she'd eventually stop, but a week goes by and it seems to be getting worse. On another evening after their so-called games, she spends a lot of time again. This is the last straw. I get her things and put them outside. At 3 a.m., there's a knock on the door. She is shouting, banging on the door, asking why her things are outside. I tell her everything and that I want her out of my house and want a divorce. She begins to plead, but I tell her that she thinks I'm a fool that she could continuously play. She confesses her affair with Aid, but it's no new news to me. I tell to move with him. That it's over between us. It's been about a week now, I still get texts from her. She says she's with her parents and that she's no longer in contact with Aid, but that's their business now. I have handed her the divorce letter and everything will be finalized soon. Reader comment, so she has been dating him for the last 2 years right in front of you. Your story is full of red flags from her end. You have caught them every time, however you've always made a mistake of confronting her without evidence and letting her walk away with anything. The fact that she has been smart enough to ensure she has deleted the messages so that you don't find anything is enough for you to know that you're neither insecure nor hallucinating. She has been having an affair for the last 2 years. This brings you to the question, are you willing to stay like this for the remainder of your life or until she leaves you, or are you going to stop the pygmy dance and do something? Reader comment, get a PI involved, bud, get the evidence and get yourself out of there. She is lying through her teeth and you are letting her get away with it. Go see a lawyer, get everything in order, financially serve her, and move on. She making a mug out of you. Original poster, I'm meeting with my lawyer today. Turns out they can subpoena Snapchat and everything she's snapped him is saved to a cloud for 5 years. Please support the channel by hitting the thumbs up.